Hi, welcome to the presentation for today. We are going to be doing AutoCAD Architecture and AutoCAD MEP. First thing we'll do is talk about a little bit about CTC here. We are an Autodesk Gold partner. We were established in 1997. We specialize in building, infrastructure, and advanced MEP modeling and consulting and support. We implemented custom Autodesk solutions in over 400 firms. We also have Revit Express tools that we've created for Revit. And for today, the agenda that we're going to go through is we're going to introduce the display manager. And then we're going to talk about display configurations, display sets, and representations by objects. And then we're going to show you how to set up new displays. And then at the end, we'll have up-and-coming events for CTC. And then again, as been discussed, we're going to have the questions answered toward the end of the video. So here, I'm going to go ahead and switch into AutoCAD Architecture. Very similar to AutoCAD MEP, but I'm going to be just pretty much showing all the features in AutoCAD Architecture, but it's very similar in AutoCAD MEP as well. So first off, I wanted to introduce the 2015 features, just as a brief discussion about them. If you're are not using AutoCAD Architecture 15 yet, this is the first thing you'll see is the recent files page. When you first open up the program, you have the ability to start new drawings, open drawings, and also have recent documents here. And with these recent documents, I can simply just click on it and open it up. Instead of having to browse out every single time, I can simply just click on a file I've opened before. So first thing we're going to show is I'm going to talk about Display Manager. It's used to change the way objects display inside your drawing. You can also set viewports to a particular display. That way you have multiple viewports that are displaying different looks. I can have one be a reflected ceiling plan, one be a floor plan, one show high detail, one show low detail. It's up to you which one you prefer for that particular view. So down here in the bottom of AutoCAD, there is the click to configure the display configuration. This is out of the box configuration right now, but I have all these different displays that I can change. I could say low detail, and as you can see here, it changes the way the walls and windows and doors display on screen. And I can come down here again, I can say medium detail, which then you can see the construction of the wall. And if I say high detail, it goes even further with the hatch being denser. So let's take a look at how these display configurations are set. So what we have to do is I have to go to the Manage tab, and there's the Display Manager. Then inside here we have the Display Manager, which has a few panels on it here on the left-hand side and then the right-hand side that we will eventually see where we can set all our properties. And then there's also the Viewer, which is a button you can click down here to turn the viewer on and off. And this will give you a preview of what it could be looking like when you set your display. Back over here on the Display Manager on the panel, we have the configurations, sets, and representation by objects. And all three of these correspond with each other. The very first one is configuration. Here I hit the plus sign, and here I have a list of the configurations that are set, and these are the same configurations that are down here in the bottom of AutoCAD. So this list here is the same list right here. And what you do with the configurations then is if I select the configuration, what does the configuration going to look like? Here I have General tab, which I can put in a description or give the name. And I can also give a description of what this medium scale is for. Here, for instance, it says 1/8 inch equals a foot. Then I have the configuration tab, which then I can tell it if I use this particular configuration when I'm looking at the top, use this display representation set, which comes from sets down here. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. And also here I can choose what, if I look at it from the bottom, what does it look like? And also the elevations. If I go to elevation view, what does it look like? Then here for sets, if I drop this down, I have these different sets here: model, model high detail, model low detail, model presentation, plan, and so on. Reflected. We just have all these different ones. If I select one of these, I now get the properties over here of what all the categories or all the objects inside AutoCAD Architecture and AutoCAD MEP. And then once I find my category, if I kind of select it, I get a preview over here in the viewer of what it's currently looking at a medium detail with the current configuration that's checked. Once I find this, then I can scroll through, and I got these check boxes here for each of the display representations. And these display representations are the same one that we're going to find down here in representation by objects. These are the same ones right here. So again, I'm going to take doors and I'm going to follow it across, and I'm going to look for the check boxes here. And the one that's checked right now for the door is plan. And with this plan being checked, then down here in the representation by objects, if I expand this, I have all those categories that are the same over here in the display representation. If I click on door and expand it, I have those sets that were up here in the set. So when again, I'm going to come back up here and click on plan. All these right here are again these same ones that are over here. So with plan being checked for doors, I'm going to find plan here. And when I select plan, I now get how this element's going to display. I have panel, frame, stop, swing, direction, and then panel above cut plane, frame above it or below it. And then I have these light bulbs that if it's visible or not. And you can click on the light bulb, and if I hit apply, you will see over here in the preview that doorstop has now been turned on. So here I have plan. I turned on the doorstop, and plan here is using plan representation for door, and medium detail is using plan set. So now with all that being checked, if I hit OK, now every single one of my doors is now displaying a doorstop. So with this display manager, this is again where you can customize how objects are displaying. So here I'm going to go through some few more stuff here. We got some cool features such as I can create additional representations. So here if I come down to doors again, I can select doors, and then I have over here representations. I can find one, I can right click, and I can duplicate a plan, and then I can create an additional style. And then with this, I can then find what I want it to, for the set to be applied to. If I want an additional set up here, then I can also come up to sets and create an additional one up here. So I can right click on sets and say new. I got a new display set, and then I can say what I want it. And then for this, if I come down to doors, I can find that there's that new style I just added, and I can check that option in, and it's going to show over here what it's going to look like. So once I got that, my new set and also my new style down here, I can select my style and start customizing what I want it to look like. Do I want to see this swing? Do I want to see the stop? Do I want to see the frame? Maybe, for instance, on this one, all I want to see is the panel. So I'm going to hit apply. All you're going to see is the panel over here. Then I can come back up to configurations, and I can come up here and click and make a new, right click, make a new display configuration. And then once I have that configuration, then over here for top, I can then select my option set that I created, new set. If I hit OK, it's still displaying this way because I have medium detail set. If I drop this down, there's my new configuration. If I click on that, all I see is the panels. And the reason why I'm only seeing the panels is because I have not configured to show walls, doors, or windows, and all the rest of the elements. So you will have to go through each element that you want to be in there and check it. For instance, I can come down here to walls, and I can check in plan or model, either one. Hit OK, and now I see my walls again. If I go back, I'm going to go back into the Display Manager, go back to Sets, and again, anything you need to display, if I want to come back down here and display my windows, also in Plan, hit OK. My windows are now back. So anytime you wanted to make a simple change to how your elements display, Display Manager is where you can do this procedures. If I want to customize different things, for instance, the walls, I'm going to come down here to walls, and I'm going to click on medium detail, or plan, sorry. And let's say I don't want to see the hatches, but I want to see the boundary. Because, for instance, I'm going to click over here, I'm going to go to medium detail. I still see all the construction of the wall. Low detail doesn't show the boundaries or the hatches. But in medium detail, let's say I want to see the boundaries but no hatches. So what I can do in the Display Manager, so if I drop down Representation by Objects, Walls, I'm going to select Plan, and then over here I have the boundaries, and they're all turned on, and then down here I have hatches. I can simply uncheck all the hatches, hit OK, and now I will see the boundaries for each element, but no hatches in there. Couple of other things, we have also the ability to customize what the annotation scale will do for details. So I can go into DWG Setup, and if I come in here I can select a scale. For instance, I can click 1/8 inch, and then I can set what configuration I want to display at 1/8 of an inch. Then if I have a different scale, for instance here 1/4 inch, I'm going to set that to be a higher detail. So now if I change my scale to a 1/4 inch, you will see that it's automatically switched my detail level to a higher detail level. And then if I switch it back to 1/8 inch, it goes back to the medium detail. What you also can do is, I'm going to come into the Display Manager, go to the walls, is I can change what the hatching looks like. So here, if I want to turn the hatches back on, and then if I go to hatching, hatch 1 is using user single, but also over here I can change the color, the layer key that it goes on. You could set also the cut plane. Well, actually, the cut plane is actually going to be set by the set here, or the configuration. If I come to configuration, click this, there's cut plane, that I could set one of these elements here for the details at a certain cut plane. Such as reflected ceiling, if I click on that one, it's set to be 7'6". So if I set this to be reflected ceiling, my cut plane has now been switched to be 7'6". And if I had a ceiling in here, you would also be able to display that. So for instance, I'm going to go into a project here. I'm going to go to the sample project out of the then if I go into a view here, this one also here is a building that's a sample in a project. Again, I have the same details. If I click reflected ceiling plan, you see all the ceiling. So with this, the display, what you get to choose if you see something or not. Again, if I set the ceilings to display while I'm in this configuration, you'll see them, and then the doors do not show. If you need to show the doors in the reflected ceiling plan, again, that's when I can come into the display manager, drop down here, and I'm using sets for reflected, and doors are turned off. But I can come over here and turn them on. If I wanted to, here they say it's using reflected for doors, which if I come down to reflected ceiling plan, for the doors reflected, pretty much everything is turned off, but also since I'm above the element, still not going to show because the cut plane is up higher. So again, that's when I can say to use the plan representation of doors instead of the reflected. So I'm going to come over here and uncheck reflected, hit OK, and now my doors display, but do not show the opening because the walls are still cut above it. Other things that's nice about the display manager is you can take display configurations from one file to another. So here, if I go into the display manager and I have two files open, I will see both files in this list. So I can customize them at the same time. So if I wanted a particular configuration here, if I drop these down, I got all these configurations here, then I got these down here, but I don't have a few of them. For instance, I don't have this medium detail, intermediate level. What I could do is actually right-click on it and copy, come up to this other drawing and paste it, and now I have that representation inside the model. You can do that with sets as well. You can copy and paste set from one drawing to another. Also, if you have a project set up, you can also synchronize your drawing with the project standards. So here I have a project open, and then I have certain configurations set. If I come down here, this medium detail shows me a sync here, saying that it's different than this up here. So I can right-click and say synchronize with project standards. It's going to tell me what's there. I hit OK, and now it syncs the changes and makes them now be similar in fashion, so that all your drawings are using the same configurations. This is great for using in projects. If multiple users are working on a project, you can keep your projects looking the same. Also, if you make a change to a file and you want to push that into the sample project or the configurations for this project, you can do the same by right-clicking up here and say Update from Current Drawing. This will take your current drawing settings and push it into the standards for this project. Then again, you can go into each project and synchronize with project standards so that every file gets updated. All right, so at this point, I'm going to push it back over to Ben, and then we're going to follow up with the questions. I got a few questions that were asked.
All right, thank you, Kyle. My first question is, how can you make a Dutch door with swings shown or a double acting, basically a swinging door, a screen door, in the same opening as a door?
Actually, on that one, that will be a little bit difficult to do. You'd actually have to create your own custom door, which is actually going into the multi-view blocks editor and configuring a door to be how you want it to look. It's actually pretty time-consuming and pretty difficult to do if you don't know the multi-view block editor.
Alrighty, and how can you set doors from open 90 versus 45 versus 30 degrees?
Well, that was definitely a good question. However, all the out-of-the-box doors are actually a very good door. Here, if I go back to my model that I created here, if I select a door in AutoCAD Architecture here, if I go into the properties, there is already a swing angle set here that I can then say 45, and it will be at a 45, or I could set it to be 30, and I can even set it to be 0 so it looks closed.
And someone was also interested in showing casement windows closed but with a dashed outline of the opened window in plan view.
That's another good question. Here I do actually have a casework window that is actually set to be closed. If I want to display this as dashed, actually that is where you can use the display manager. And I can go representation by objects, windows, plan. And then here I have the glass, the sash, and the frame. And if I wanted to take this, I can then come over here to the line type. And I could say set it to be a certain line type, such as hidden. And hit OK out. Oh, I did the frame. I should have done the glass or the sash here. I can make that hidden. And I'm just going to make the glass hidden as well. So I'm just basically setting up everything here. So now when it's closed, it's hidden. However, if you do open it, it's still going to be dashed because the display configuration is set to show that always. However, you can make another one here, display configuration, that if I change that, as you can see here, it changes the way it's displayed.
Thank you, Kyle. And our last question for the moment is, for us longtime users, how does the layer manager and layer sets fit into the use of the display manager?
Well, with layer manager and the layer sets fit into the display manager, this is actually where you can actually customize when you set a particular display to what layer those elements go on. So when I'm in the display manager, so I go into representation by objects, and pick on something here. I have layer color line type control here. So right now it's using a certain layer. So if I click on this, right now it's using this one, but if I drop it down, I can choose a different layer. For instance, maybe I want the frame to go on a wall. If I hit OK all the way out, go to my door. The color here is actually still displaying as a different one because I have it set that way, but you can change what layer the elements go on. And then over here I'm using the colors by block, but if I can force that to be a different color, I can set layer overrides, layer keys, and so on. All right, so we don't have any more questions. So at this point, talk about the up-and-coming events. We have some up-and-coming webinars. August 19th, we are going over the AutoCAD Sheet Set Manager. And then August 21st, we're going to go over Revit parametric components, how you can change elements to be different sizes, and when to use type catalogs. And then August 26th, we have pipe and duct routing preferences in Revit MEP. And right now also, I wanted to mention that we have Midwest University 2015 up and coming. Registration can be submitted. Submit class proposals before September 30th, 2014. Again, the Midwest University is going to be March 26th and 27th of 2015. Don't miss it.
All right, thank you very much, Kyle. It's kind of a shorter webinar today. If you guys have any further questions about Display Manager, please provide that in the survey, and we'll reach out to you with one of our techs and address that. But thank you all for attending today. You've got some extra time for your lunch break here. Go have some fun, and we will see you next time. Have a great day.